Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Well, left-hand side is complete. Right-hand side is complete. And that is it for the full suspension on the front of the 64 Chrysler. I hope everyone is doing well. And today, we're moving into the kickdown cable on the 361B, connecting the carburetor to the A727 TorqueFlite. 3-speed automatic, rebuilt by yours truly. And it works. With no load on it, it works. We'll see what happens when we put some power into this thing. But we're getting away from the original large rods and push rods that connected this together from the old Carter carb down to the kickdown lever. I am going with this cable system here. This is a nice little stainless steel setup. It is from China, but you know what isn't these days, unfortunately. It's all stainless steel, except for the connectors are aluminum. It doesn't have to be that tight, so I think they'll be fine. But we got to change our geometry here. With the old setup, bar was pushing and pushing all in one direction. That is no-go for a cable system because the cables are so floppy. They're a pull-type system only. So we got to make some brackets. It comes with a lot of connectors and stuff, but this linkage here is going to be gone so that the cable is actually coming from the back here and pulling the control valve to the rear of the transmission. And up here, it'll be going forward, creating that pulling movement. So I'm going to start up here on the carburetor first, just to start getting things hooked up. I just kind of threw in some things here loose. This is going to be the guide for the wire at the top, and this will end up being my adjuster once we start getting to the point of adjusting the transmission when it shifts. Now that'll have to be done in the car, unfortunately. I'll get it close up here, but it'll have to be when the car is running. It came with this nice little bracket as well here that fits on the back of the carb. No brainer there, and everything works good. Now, I am going to set it up here first to get some cables on, see how it looks, see if my angles work. This here is made to be tweaked, so I get a better pull. I want a straight pull. I don't want it cutting into the edge. Like I don't want the wire coming out on an angle, because it's going to, then that'll slowly cut through the edge of that, right? So I want to get a nice straight pull, which we can definitely achieve. And we'll get it halfway set up here onto this piece. Alrighty, we are moving along here, making some progress, just getting some things in place. Nothing crazy yet, but we got our basic attachment up to the carburetor section here. So my back bracket here that mounts to the rear carburetor bolt, this is where the solid point is aligned. Other than the kickdown itself, which we'll get to, there's no adjustment here for any of the tightness in this line. All our main adjustment is going to be down here at the transmission, just like it was from factory, though a lot of this is not going to be here anymore. But this is the solid point up here. So what we have, I went with the lowest hole because we want to keep our cable as straight as we can. If the cable's coming out on an angle out of that tube, right, it's gonna cut. It's gonna wear a line through the edge here, and we don't want that. So we've got it as straight as we can. This is actually slotted, as you can see, so you can move it in and out as needed. And then, of course, on the bottom of my carburetor, I have this nice little lever here that I can mount to. And then I just got the cable just finger tighted on here. And this is going to be part of my adjustment. So at the carburetor to the valve for the 727, I don't know if all transmissions are the same, but for the 727 anyway, the movement of my carburetor arm, the top part, has to equal the distance on the bottom here. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. That one turn or half a turn, wherever that distance is, has to max out the lever down here at a 1-to-1 ratio. So there's no play, no slop. I'm not hitting the 4-barrel to the end. This is only halfway open. And the way you do that is you adjust the distance between your pivot pin and where the cable goes on to your control lever. Now my control lever is like 2.5 inches long here. and we're maybe only 1.5 inches here. So, get the caliper out. I took a measurement, and I've gone center to center here. Center to the black pivot there, which is the pin that the arm goes on, to the center of the bolt down there. And if I come down here to my transmission, and I go center of the stud to where it moves, you'll see I'm 1 inch too long. So I won't cut this off, but I do have to drill a hole. I have to change my ratio here. I have to have a 1-to-1. Right now we're almost a 1-to-2, almost a 2-to-1 ratio, which is not good. That means carburetor is going to stop turning, or actually it's not even going to make it. I'm not going to make it to the end of my 4-barrel before that locks solid because there's so much throw, right? So I have to make sure that this movement is the same as that movement, which is not a big deal. I got that nice little, where's it at here? This nice little ball here, right there. And that is going to be fitting in there. I got some brackets here because what I have to do is this has to come around this way. It has to pull that way on the arm. And then of course I'll have a return spring just for extra safety. From here I can put it up onto this stud where this is all going to be gone now. And this will have to be nice and secured close to the transmission. This gets really close to the floor and the firewall. Got to make sure nothing's in the way. And we'll just make that bend in a nice little U shape. Like I said, I got one bracket here. I got 2 brackets here. This one I'll use. I need a couple more, probably something like this. These little ones here I use for my wires, something I can put on, say, here or here. One on the back, and then of course this one will be the solid one, and that will be my adjuster for taking up any of the slack in the jacket. The cable is going to be loose. The cable is going to be loose to a point of about 1/4 inch or so, and that's going to be my adjustment so that as my lever moves forward, there's no changing of the transmission valve or anything until I just start into the 4 barrels. This will start to move, and then as I pull through that, that'll engage the lever all the way, dropping the transmission down, kick down, which is some people call it the passing gear. That'll kick it down while those 4 barrels are open, putting all the jam to the rear end. And then as I let off, and that comes back forward, I'm back onto my mains, which is the front 2 barrels, doing my regular driving. This lever will be all the way forward, and it'll be shifting and driving in 3rd gear. There we are. Got my arm drilled. Got my little knuckle end on here. And now the nut hangs down pretty far here, but if I test fit this thing, it's got good clearance. I can just get the edge of my finger under there. It comes out just far enough over this bevel that it's not in the way. But one thing I noticed this thing's got quite the return spring in there. I was surprised those little springs are that strong. This is fully off, of course, and then I have to get full stroke right to there where you hear that tick, and that's going to be on. Now, I worry that this little bracket might not be strong enough because I can flex this a little bit by hand. So I don't know if I'm going to have to stiffen it up. There is this here. I don't know if that would stiffen or not, but I noticed the holes are basically perfectly aligned with each other. So I'm wondering if maybe that is supposed to be a stiffener plate that I can use. All right, so I ended up using that little piece for stiffener. Now all I had is just a 1/4 inch bolt laying around. I'll make that a little nicer. But I put that on there to help support a little bit because it is kind of thin. And I hooked up my cable through here. And I got a little tension here. Because if we move down here, I got my cable on, got a little play in here, just where it should be. The lever, there's nothing back here, right there. I can feel it touch the spring to where that valve's gonna go. Got my back bracket on here. And look at that. We got her almost all together. So I ended up running the line, the stainless steel line, and I got it all hooked up here. My throw is good, 1-to-1. When I run my carburetor up here, I'm making it all the way to the end of my travel down there on the kickdown. That's where she goes. She ends right there. So hopefully that's it. If it's not, I can definitely adjust it some more. We got lots of play here. I can take the slack up in that. Right now, I got quite a bit of slack, so it's not pulling on that arm at all. And once the pressure is on this transmission, it'll probably end up holding it out a little bit. Just taking up that last little bit there. If I need more, I can definitely allow for it. But I looped it around good using the bracket that came with the package, and it went on nice. Then I just got these wire loops. They're just loose in there. Made it so that they're not pinching or anything. And of course, with the stainless steel braid here, I didn't want it rubbing metal to metal. So I used, out of that kit, the same wiring kit that I used for this loam. Well, this is the black stuff that came with it. Same thing, just black. And I ended up running that, putting a shrink on it to hold it on. And I ran that around the bottom of that stainless steel line, right into the connector here. Just to clean it up, you're not going to see this. The firewall basically comes right flat, almost to the back of this engine here. So you're not going to see that at all. But that's all tucked in there nice. Operating good? I don't know. Not going to know until it's under load. But it's definitely on there. Now with the stiffener, it stopped it from bending here, but now it's flexing a little bit up in here. So we'll see if it's sensitive enough that it's causing issues down here. If it is causing issues, then of course we'll try to figure something out. But if it's not, if everything seems to be shifting fine and it's pulling that lever far enough, we'll just let it go. But now we're moving on to other things as well. This is the radiator support for the 64. I pulled her out of the dirt from outside, cleaned her off, did a little grinding on it, a little cleaning. I just threw down a little bit of paint on there. This is only one coat. You can still see kind of dark spots through it. I just put a sealer underneath. The other side the same way. So I'm letting that dry. And that is the rad mount that goes down in here, and it fits right in along this edge here and raises up on both sides. I also have my other parts for my front radiator support. This is the center support, which holds this angular piece here, which is actually the hold down for the hood. So that little bar just comes up underneath here and holds it. It helps stiffen up this whole thing, stop the fenders from flopping in and out, because everything's really floppy right now, especially the bottom tray is just flopping around in there. So that'll stiffen that all up. But I do have the use of an engine hoist coming, and I got to get this thing ready. And one thing I didn't do, when I took the engine out, this thing come out, it was like a 45-degree angle, almost like it was ready to launch to space, and it is definitely not going back in that way. When I took it out, I didn't care about it dinging and bumping things as it went. So I'm actually going to get in here, and I'm going to remove the this top support and get that taken off, because I think I was showing in the last video, I think. Maybe it's this video. I can't remember. But once this is out, it'll end up going in there a lot smoother and straighter and make it a lot easier. I might even be able to do it when it's up here on the stands. I'm still in the stands, which would be really nice, so that I can just get it in, get it on, get my dry shaft, get all that stuff hooked up, and then drop it down, rather than having to drop this down, lift it up to get under the dry shaft, drop it down again, you know, round and round. But things are going good. Things are going great. Just going to pull that out. I actually went to bed and got up for the next day. But the final coat is on all the parts. You can still see the lines of the old paint through it that is just a mess. But I got my top mount out. Got it cleaned up. I never was able to get underneath really, really well for the painting. But now that I got it off, I got the wire wheel in there, hit it with the rust paint, let it do its thing. And now it's all good. And because of the overspray, I just painted the top again to make it clear. And then over here in the car, got the old grinder going. Got it was this pity. It's still a little pity, but it's going to be all covered up. This is actually a little bit soft. I went on her pretty heavy. So I've got the two sides cleaned up now. And also down here, I had to redo some paint when I was doing all the sanding originally. Must have been a spot here that I missed sanding it. Because when I went through and I blew this all off with the air gun, I had one big spot of paint here blow off. So just a spot I must have missed when I did the sanding. But now, time to start working on the dash. If you are an original, you're the OG crew, you remember, must be almost 2 years ago now, I tore this dash down. This whole thing was kind of rust and crap, and I got it all redone. High gloss black. It is flawless. It was the first time that I did an intricate part like this, and I couldn't believe how it turned out. So all this is by your knees, of course, right? You can see. Now I have covers that I have to make. I have to redo the covers that go over this whole area all the way along here. That'll cover up that. The same goes with all the top here. That all gets covered. Everything you can see that's that weird brown, it's all getting covered on there. And then on this side here, right where these holes are, that's as far as the upholstery goes. So the window covers it up a bit, but there's about 1.5 inch space that you can see through the window. So I made sure I went through and did that black as well too. This will be a nice black cover. And then all the inside is done in this white, this industrial white. And that goes for my grill, for this front speaker, and my dash and everything. Jeez, I forgot that was on there. That is the anomaly. I don't know. I'm going with it. But that be her right there. That was the 300 badge. What was left to the sills that come out in pieces, they were etched 300. Everything I can tell by the door jamb says 300. Except for the engine is off, which could have been replaced, and the grill is off, which could have been replaced, which most likely was. When I, talking to different forums stuff, if you remember, the left fender was gone. It was replaced. It was green, and it might have been the second time it was replaced. I don't know why, but the first one that was bolted on, that was gone. This one was welded on. The end pieces are welded. I can't remove this front clip. If I do, this whole thing has to come off the whole way around underneath this fender because they welded it together for some reason, and it was hit again, and it ended up buckled up. And my best we can figure, going on the different forums, is that when they replaced the fender and the lower skirt here, the grill was there already. It probably come off of a Newport, that fender. The Newport fender and the 300 fender, absolutely identical, and the grill was probably there with it. The grill new at the time was only like $250. The 300 grill was almost $600. So there's a good chance that they just splurged for the cheaper one, or they had it at a wrecker or something like that. The other thing is maybe they replaced the dash. Maybe they pulled the whole dash out of a 300 and put it in Newport. I have no idea. And Chrysler cannot tell me. I thought for sure the documentation would be on record somewheres. I guess it wasn't all perfect. Of course, it's not a fancy car. It's not a good sought-after car. So it's not like it's a Mustang or something or a Corvette that they really kept up on the records. But whatever. It is what it is. I don't care. 300 or Newport, they both look identical. It was different engines. I have a much better engine now, even than what would have been in the 300. And this baby is going to be way superior than the 300 was back in the day. So here are the dash parts that I have to make. So this is the whole upper dash. Everything is intact. There is nothing other than the fact that it's gone hard. This was a foam backer that is now gone solid. But it has a metal rib all the way in it, so where it bolts on. And of course, I can't put any of the dash stuff in until this is done because it all crimps over the edge and holds that edge on. And where this part here goes on the bottom, that's where the dash cluster goes in over there, and the steering wheel cover all goes on. It all holds it in nice and covers it all up. So I gotta get working on these. I gotta figure something out. This one is really good. It's actually smooth, no bubbles, no cracks, no picks, no nothing. I'm gonna clean this up, and with it on the car or on the dash over there, I watched lots of videos where guys reskin this. You basically put a new skin over top of it. Super easy to do. So that's good. That's the easy part. The hard part is going to be this one. It's good up until this area here. Unfortunately, it had a crack, and it got a crack in it. And this here, the left-hand side, was the side the door was open for, I don't know, could have been 40 years. And the water's got into this, and this is all rippled and whatnot. I don't know if I can get it flat. See how kind of oil cans? And it's not just the layer of, I guess, vinyl or whatever the stuff is on top of the foam. The whole thing is kind of oil canned. And if I just put a new skin on that, I'm going to see that as well too. So I'm going to work this a little bit. I'm going to try heat. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to get a piece of plywood, and get that on there. The curve, this does curve down. That's easy to do. But I'm going to get a piece of plywood or something, get this nice and warm, and see if I can press this down and get it to stay. Something a little bit closer. And then I'll try stretching a skin over it. Now this one, I do have to make a two-piece skin, because you see how it kind of dips under, and we got all this stuff here. So, the sewing machine. If you guys remember, I bought a sewing machine last year, and that is my plan. I'm going to try to sew something. So, this is 2 pieces from factory, and I'm going to try to make a 2-piece skin that's going to fit over top of it. Well, I'm going to have to apologize, because there's something I didn't video. And that is the nice brand new spanking dash I got. Well, not really. You can see the ripples in her. She's got some ripples. But the price of this vinyl that I could find, yeah, it wasn't happening. So I had to come up with another solution. Something cheaper. Could be temporary. You never know. Down the road, make something better. And I took we went low end here. We went with the vinyl and fabric paint. But don't fret. It made this thing look like a brand new piece of leather. I had to pull out the dash and get her snapped on there and see how it looks. But I don't know. I've had buddies use this stuff before. I've never used it, but it is good and flexible. Dried nice, dried smooth. It kept the texture of the old vinyl. And the color is just perfect the way it sets it off. So I am rolling with that, and that's the way she's going to go. Now this stuff can come off without removing the whole entire dash. The only thing I have to do to get the lower one off is I have to remove the bolt screws in the bottom of the cluster, dash cluster, and pull it out to get this off. So down the road, if I happen to find a new one that's in good shape, or I actually want to build one, reskin these things, I can do that down the road later on when I got the money for it. But that brings us to the point of trying to get all this to fit back in there. And once that's in there, we get a big bucket of spaghetti, all tagged, and try to find out where everything goes and hope that she doesn't let the smoke out of all the wires when I plug her in. Well, moving right along with this dash. Things are going good, or they were going good till they're not. Got a bit of an issue here. So starting here on the right-hand side of the car, the top dash went on great. Fits good. It's perfectly flush with the end of the metal. And there's a little indent here where a big chrome grab handle goes on. And that'll hold it all in nice, and it fits perfect. As we come along, she's real good too. We come to our first transition to the larger part of the dash over top of the cluster. The metal is here, and we are tight. There's no play. There's no movement this way. We are tight together. But as we come down here, I'm a ½ inch out. It must have shrunk, I guess, over the years. I can't remember. Thinking back, I can't remember if it was right over the end of this, but it has definitely shrunk like a ½ inch. I'm gonna have to try to stretch this somehow. Also, the screw that's in here, there's a little cutout right here where it looks like it would line up perfectly with the screw as well. So I'm going to turn the dash around. I'm going to get my electric heater here blowing on it, because this stuff gets quite flexible when it's warm. And I'm going to heat up basically from here down and see if I can kind of stretch that along. The little bolts that hold this in are on a rail, and the little clips can slide back and forth. So I'm hoping I can heat this up, stretch it out, get it over the end, bolt it down,
and I'll have to do something, maybe just hold it by hand or whatever until it cools down, and hopefully I can get the stretch over that end. Now that right there is a work of art. God, that's beautiful. There's no car today can compare with the way things were built back in the 50s and the 60s. The chrome, the stainless steel, the lines, the bezels with all the chrome around them and whatnot. It's just awesome. And the reflection in this underdash looks cool. But I do have a few things missing. I have a trim piece up top here, one on the bottom, and I know I have it. I went back on my very first video, the first time I sat in this car, and they're there. So I took them apart somewheres in this mess. So I got to dig through this pile. There's some boxes and bins here, but mostly that. My luck, it's going to be the very first thing I took off, so it's at the bottom, of course. But I do got to find them. I don't have the stereo, of course, the original stereo. There was a light that goes in here. I don't have that. That's the choke. Now, the choke that was on this car when I got it was something they bought aftermarket as a big red button. That don't fly. I need to find one that's chrome and black-handed just like these, or I'll have to make one or something. So I do got to get a choke. This was empty. Even though it's scuffed up like something was there, it was empty when I got the car. Same goes with these two spots. There's a big hole there with nothing. And then there's one here that says pull. I don't know. The park brake goes here according to the manual, so I'm not sure what that one is for. This one here, there was nothing there, but I do see, what do you call it? I do see a piece in the manual that appears that might be an illuminated park light to show me that my park lights are on. Now, I'll have to double check on that, but that might be the possibility. That might be a light to show me that my park lights are on. And if so, I'll have to find something to put in there. I definitely don't have anything. But yeah, that's going to be it for the video. Not as long as some of the other ones, but got a lot done. I have my engine lift coming soon. Well, not mine, one that I can borrow. And that's going to be the next big step, is getting this engine in there. While I'm going back and forth, waiting in between things, I got a lot of wiring to do. Ugh. I got to get all that spaghetti with all the green tags telling me where everything goes, all hooked up in behind this dash. But that is it. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the new subscribers. Love you all. Catch you again later.